Founded dishes.
Kupata Yes My Love, bonyeza *811 *816 hash. *811 *816 hash.
As campaign intensifies for the upcoming general election, what does all this mean for you, the voter? What do the candidates have to offer? How prepared are agencies charged with the election process? Join John Kuria and Safina Chieng on Kenya Decides. This and every Tuesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 as we unpack elections 2022 with a panel of various stakeholders. Make informed electoral decisions.
Mpiga kura upo? Huu ni wakati wa kucheki kama details zako ziko sawa ndani ya register ya IBC. Tembelea kituo ulikojiandikisha kufikia tarehe 2 Juni mwaka huu na uwasilisha ID au passport yako kwa afisa wa IBC. Waweza pia kucheki details zako kwa kutuma nambari ya ID au passporti hashtag na mwaka wa kuzaliwa kwa SMS 70000 au tovuti verify.iebc.or.ke. Iwapo details zako si sawa, tembelea kituo ulikojiandikisha au ofisi ya IEBC katika eneo bunge lako. Kuwa sure na details zako. IEBC, your vote, your future.
Good afternoon. This is Lunchtime News. I trust you're having a lovely Tuesday so far. My name is Jackie Wambiru. Sign language interpreter is Lucy Mora. Well, here on Lunchtime News, we have a comprehensive bulletin lined up this afternoon. And to kick us off, we shall be crossing over to Kisumu County, where the 9th edition of the Afri-Cities Summit is being held from May 17th to 21st. And this is the first time the Afri-Cities Summit is being held in an intermediary city, and the theme this year is dubbed the contribution of Africa's intermediary cities to the implementation of Agenda 2030 of the United Nations and Agenda 2063 of the African Union. And for the first time, the summit will highlight the first level of the continent's urban framework. And earlier on, President Uhuru Kenyatta graced the Afri-Cities Summit event, while former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, in his capacity as the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure, chaired the first round table of discussions. Now we'll be joining our reporter Wycliffe Okech, who has been following up in Kisumu, and who will be giving us more details of what to expect as we progress. Now, Wycliffe, if you can hear me, kindly bring us to speed.
Well, thank you so much, and I can hear you clearly well, Jack Wambiru, back in Nairobi. We are, of course, at this 9th edition of the Afri-Cities Summit that is now actually taking place in the lakeside city of Kisumu, a summit that has been graced, just like you said, His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is actually who had made remarks on this summit, which is about the role of intermediary cities in the implementation of the Agenda 2030, that is for the United Nations, and Agenda 2063, the AU Agenda 2063. And the two agenda combined talk about how the intermediary city, or rather on how to improve the living standards of the populace. And this focus actually puts the focus in the role of intermediary city. Actually, like you said, it's the first time that the lakeside city of Kisumu is playing host to this unique summit. You remember, this summit is bringing together here in Kisumu about 8,000 delegates, among whom include the national government leaders. There are heads of state, that have actually graced this occasion. We have the former president of the Seychelles president. We also have the president of Djibouti among the heads of state that have graced this occasion. And the remarks that have been made so far by both the President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, that is actually the AU Special Envoy for Infrastructural Development, they are all pointing out to the need to develop the infrastructure in urban cities, because they've talked about the foreseeable anticipation of population increase that it's called rural urban migration, and to accommodate the population that will be moving from the rural areas to the urban centers, there is need to increase the capacity of urban centers to accommodate these people. Talk about the security, the infrastructure, electricity, and all that. That means the African nations that are actually participating, or rather, that are interluded in this summit, must work together to ensure inclusive development. And Right Honorable, if I can just mention, he pointed out now the need to improve the African infrastructural function. He said that if this is not done, actually, that accommodating the high population that will be moving from the rural areas can be a challenge. And he talked about the inter-country Africa trade within Africa, and to accommodate that kind of trade, there is need to increase the capacity of the infrastructural accommodation of that population that will be moving from the rural areas to the urban centers. Wambiru, just like you said, it is the first summit that is being held in an intermediary city, and this is no mean feat for the lakeside city of Kisumu. You remember, Kisumu has seen a massive transformation in the recent past. That it started just like at a center for barter trade, and now it is the third largest city in Kenya, and that means this summit will be looking to propel it to even a further stature, and that is what by the time the governor was lobbying for this city to play host to this summit. That is the key agenda that he had in mind, such that the county of Kisumu, or rather the city of Kisumu, sees more infrastructural development, more development in terms of housing and all that. And just talking about housing, President, if I don't before I forget, President Uhuru Kenyatta pointed out that the Big Four agenda, which of course he mentioned, in terms of infrastructural development, housing, and all that, in a way to build the capacity of the country, the country to accommodate his population. He underscored that the full implementation of the Agenda 4 project, the Agenda 4 project, will actually play a great role in realization of the inclusive development that is being sought after by the African, which that is the primary goal of this particular summit. Well, Jackie, because of time, actually, we will be looking into this summit, because this is the first day, and we expect this summit to run all through to Friday, and we'll be sampling everything, the remarks that will be made here, the exhibitors down on the other side, whatever they have pieces of innovation, so that we'll be combining all this and bring comprehensive stories from this. Back to you, Wambiru.
Well, that is our reporter, Weekly for Catch, giving us an update on the developments at the 9th edition of the AfriCities Summit, which is underway in Kisumu. We shall be bringing you more details in our subsequent bulletins. For now, we cross over to the Nairobi Safari Club, where journalists for human rights Kenya, in partnership with the Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights, have converged to analyze the outcome of the nomination process and the objective of examining the role and performance of political parties and key political and electoral institutions in creating an enabling environment and supporting women aspirants during the 2022 party primaries. Now, our reporter Yusuf Farah has been following up on the developments and should be giving us more details. Yusuf, if you can hear me, kindly bring us to speed.
Max. Yes, Indeed, a very good afternoon to you, Jackie Wambiru. We're coming to you live from the Nairobi Safari Club, where we just concluded a breakfast meeting here, which was mainly focusing on the recently concluded party primaries and basically just focusing on the voices of women and the role that the different institutions represented here today did to advocate for the placement of women in these places. And right about now, Jackie, I would like to introduce Amina Saud, who is the manager of voter education in IEBC, just to bring us to speed on what has happened today and maybe what they as IEBC rather have been doing in order to ensure that the place of women is guaranteed in the forthcoming general elections. I mean, thank you very much for speaking to us. Let's get right into it. First things first, as the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, what have you guys been doing to ensure that women get a place in the recently concluded party primaries and as we gear up to the forthcoming general elections?
Thank you very much, Farah. The best thing that has ever happened in Kenya, it's a history that we have made all parties to bring along their party list with a compliance, which is two-third gender. So all the parties that are compliant, they have been approved and their list have been accepted by IEBC. So every party by now in Kenya have at least two-third gender compliant. Okay. That is the best thing that has ever happened in Kenya. Another thing that we have done is even the party list of the nominations to these after elections, we have made sure that they are zebra also. They have put their women first, so that at least even if a party gets one position, at least they can bring along a woman. So that is what we have done. We are also started a coordinating committee for only women, where a consortium of many women organizations have come together and they are doing all matters done for women together. So that is how far we have gone with the women.
Okay. You did mention earlier the issue about subsidized fees for women. How has this eased the coming of women to you guys so that they can get a placement in the registrar?
It is good you've put that along, because people did not know. It is there in the Elections Act that, in the regulations, that we do half of what is the regular fees for all the positions, for all the SIGs. This is the women, the youth, and the disabled people, even the elderly. So if a fee is 5,000, they will pay only 2,500. So we are expecting more of them coming up, and for sure, in 2013 and 2017, the difference was big. 2013, the participation was about 5%. When we went to 2017, it was almost 19%. So we are seeing some changes in this. So we are hoping that more women can understand, and the youth and the people with disability understand that even the fees have been reduced to 50% of what the others are going to pay. Yeah.
And during the discussions throughout the morning today, another pertinent issue did come up, the issue of women being in finding themselves in occurrences of violence, maybe being incited by people trying to intimidate them or something. Perhaps as IEBC, are you partnering with different institutions to ensure that the rights of women are respected as we are heading towards the elections?
Yeah, we started something called ASAP, which is Election Security Arrangement Program, where we have all the stakeholders, including ODPP, ORPP, NCIC, all the big stakeholders on security, even National Police Services. So in there, we have identified areas where there are hotspots, and especially for women, for the SIGs, and we have planned for them. We have mitigation plan for them. And this we did a big inauguration on it, and we have included everybody on board so that we can do this together. And I'm urging all women to know that if anything happens to them, they can always report to the police, and the police will put up in the ASAP program, and they will know what to do immediately. So kindly don't keep it on yourself. Come up and tell us what is happening on this issue.
Finally, as we conclude, your message of encouragement to the women now that we've crossed the party primaries and we're heading towards the elections.
I am with you, women. Kindly, all women, you have come up, and I'm encouraging you. You have come up to do this exercise called politics. you need to know all the rules of the game. You have to be up to it. Plan it properly, have good managers, and be ready to be rebattling whatever will come up. And be ready, make a very thick skin on it. But I'm sure you are going to make it. As much as you've come up to the nomination, you are good for it, and you will make it. We are all with you as Kenyans to support you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Well, there you have it, Wambiru, a word of encouragement there from the IEBC Manager of Voter Education. Of course, we'll be bringing you up to speed on this story in our subsequent bulletins with more of this. But from now, from me here at the Nairobi Safari Club, back to you in studio.
Well, that was our reporter Yusuf Farah from the Nairobi Safari Club, whereby there was the analysis of the outcome of the nomination process. For now, we move on, and still on matters politics, gospel musician and presidential hopeful Reuben Kigame has unveiled Irene Ng'endo Kamau as his running mate. Speaking after the unveiling, Kigame, who is eyeing the presidential seat as an independent candidate, challenged political parties to comply with the two-thirds gender rule.
A day after top presidential aspirants from different coalition parties unveiled their running mates, attention has been shifted to independent candidates who are vying the presidential seat. Gospel musician Reuben Kigame Tuesday unveiled Irene Ng'endo Kamau as his running mate.
Implies building people, building citizens, building you and me, building every child, building every woman, building every man, building every youth, building every muzee.
Thank God for a day like today. It is a day like no other. I thank God for my president, for the preparation God has taken him through. One day, one time, God knew this day would happen. Yes. And it has come. Yes. The people that lived in darkness have seen the light. Yes.
Kigame challenging leaders to comply with the two-thirds gender rule. He further promised to address education challenges from the grassroots levels, stressing on the need to stabilize the economy and promised to reduce taxes on Kenyans if elected president in August 9th general elections.
As much as possible, a reduction in the tax rates. Kenyans are paying too much tax. And some taxes you don't even understand. It's like giving with one hand and taking with the other. We'll have to review CBC and ensure that it works for the Kenyan child. But we also want to Africanize education. It's too Western. We don't want books that are asking us who was the first man to discover Mount Kenya.
Frederick Muki for Lunchtime News.
In other news, police in Meru have impounded over 2,000 liters of illicit brew following a crackdown in Ntakira area. During the raid, police managed to arrest a couple said to have been behind the illicit brew trade in the area.
Maofisa wetu ambao walikuwa wako kazini waliweza kupata habari ya kwamba kuna gari ambalo lilikuwa ni la has, yani magari ambayo ni ya kubebea maiti, ambayo ilikuwa imebeba chang'aa, na walipoisimamisha na kufanya uchunguzi ndani, tuliweza kupata kiasi cha lita 135 za chang'aa. Ilikuwa imebebewa mifuko kama vile ambayo mumeona. Mtu hangeweza kudhani ya kwamba imebeba chang'aa. Tuliweza kushika hiyo gari na wale ambao walikuwa ndani wengine, na uchunguzi unaendelea kubainisha mzigo ulikuwa wa nani, ili yule ambaye anaweza kuwa ndiye mwenye mzigo aweze kuwa dealt with kulingana na sheria.
Now, Kapenguri Member of Parliament Samuel Moroto and Trans Nzoia County Commissioner Samuel Juang clashed publicly over the settlement of more than 800 squatter families at Chepchoina Settlement Scheme along West Pokot and Trans Nzoia counties. The legislator accused the county commissioner of sabotaging efforts to resettle the squatters despite several court orders. Andrew Keru reports.
The families in question were forcefully evicted last year by security agencies to verify their land documents before resettlement of genuine beneficiaries of the land. Speaking after meeting officials of the squatters, Moroto accused County Commissioner Samuel Juang of working with land cartels to defraud the locals.
Wakati walipewa sasa mashamba wako na makaratasi, si watu ambao wamekuja kufahamia. Wakati Moi alipeana 94 mpaka 97, alikumbuka kuna watu wenye walikuwa wanafanya ADC.
Locals claimed they are living in deplorable conditions, making it even hard for their children to attend school.
Tuko na watoto wa shule, tuko na njaa, makaratasi imeraruka, mvua inanyesha.
Ufisadi umepatikana hapa Trans Nzoia. Watu watapoteza mashamba. Watu wengi hawawezi enda kotini. Wabunge kama hao kina Moroto ambao wanajaribu kuwatetea watu wameitwa wajambazi. Wengine wetu maisha yetu kwa hatarini.
However, Trans Nzoia County Commissioner Samson Ojuang issued the warning to politicians using Chepchoina settlement scheme matter to gain political mileage, saying the resettlement program is on course. He said soon all the squatters in phase 2 and 3 of the scheme will be fully resettled. The county chief blamed a section of politicians battling for various elective seats for using the resettlement challenge at Chepchoina to incite locals. Andrew Kero for Lunchtime News.
Now, Kisauni Member of Parliament Ali Menza Mbogo is on the police watch list for allegedly making inciting remarks during the Wiper Meet the People tour led by the party leader Kalonzo Musyoka last Friday. Mombasa County Commissioner John Otieno said the remarks bordered on ethnicity.
The Mombasa County Commissioner said that investigations are underway, with other politicians also being pursued for alleged hate speech remarks.
Wanasiasa fulani ambao make statements that are inciting, and I want to appeal to them to be very realistic and considerate, knowing that the statements that they make might incite the public to violence. One of the MPs, maybe to mention the name Ali Mbogo, and we want to tell them that they must play in accordance with the rules.
He urged politicians to tone down the rhetoric and follow the rules in the interest of peace in the upcoming elections. Otieno warned politicians of taking advantage of vulnerable youth who are reportedly being recruited by politicians to form gangs. Already, an operation to flush out juvenile gangs has seen 187 young men arrested, with some already facing jail term.
Some politicians tayari wameanza ku recruit the youths, forming illegal criminal groups. And the intention is to terrorize wananchi wakati wa elections. We are not going to accept this. We will deal with them firmly to make sure that we have peaceful elections.
Still in the political arena, various reactions continue to follow the nomination of NARC Kenya leader Martha Karua to the post of a presidential running mate. Now, Elvis Otieno has more of this.
High Court Advocate Jane Nyaboke, a friend and a former workmate of Martha Karua, while welcoming her nomination as Raila Odinga's running mate, called on women to support their own.
I am sure that Martha has delivered the message. We have nothing again to fear. We have what it takes. And I can tell you, the women of this country, that Martha will fight for you.
Nyaboke said it shows the integral role played by women and commitment of the government promoting women leadership after Martha Koome was also appointed the Chief Justice. In Busia County, residents applauded the move by Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga to nominate Karua as his running mate in August presidential polls.
If you truly love your society, you have to think woman. And when you see women, see leaders. Don't see just a woman. Yes. Martha Karua anatosha.
Elsewhere, the Maendeleo ya Wanawake organization Mombasa chapter has hailed Odinga's move to pick Karua as his presidential running mate, saying this was a momentous and a historic moment for women in the country.
Mama, kama ulivyoona alivyotambuliwa, tuzidi kutambuliwa katika mambo na biashara. Kama mnavyojua, kina mama kazi zao za mikono ziweze kutambuliwa, wapate biashara, uongozi bora.
And in Wajir, a section of NARC Kenya aspirants have welcomed the candidature of Martha Karua as Raila Odinga's running mate in the August elections.
On Mother Karua, we believe Mother Karua is not given that position because she's a woman. She is given that position because of her ability, her integrity, and her experience as a leader in her own right.
Elvis Otieno for Lunchtime News.
Well, that report brings us to our first break here on Lunchtime News. Don't go too far. We'll be back with more news.
Do you think the wedding will be very elegant? I don't know. But just like the children, I'm really excited about going. Imagine her finding everything about the Honorable Mr. Gonzalo Murat. Just tell me that it's a fact, that they won't get married. Yes, that's right. Now go away.
You can say whatever it is you like, but then I'm going ahead with a clear conscience. Get out of my way.
Don't touch me! I came to give you this. If you marry Adrian, I will use these documents to put your father in jail.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Welcome back. The African Women Leaders Network Kenya has welcomed the appointment of NARC Kenya party leader Martha Karua as Azimio la Umoja running mate is a huge milestone in the empowerment of women. The leaders say Karua's appointment is a reward of hard work and reform credentials, further calling on all political leaders to further the cause of women by appointing more women leaders to leadership positions.
As women of Kenya and mothers of this great nation, we want to take this early opportunity to congratulate Honorable Martha Karua for this well-deserved appointment. When the Honorable former Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga, and leader of the Azimio coalition announced the appointment of Honorable Martha Karua, no serious person in this country questioned her credentials, standing in society, and leadership capabilities on a basis of gender. She stands tall as a woman, but more importantly to note is that as a leader in her own right, she stands out.
There have been women even who have vied for presidential positions, but Martha is a woman accepted across the nation. She's a woman who everybody knows. Whether you like her or you don't like her, you know her, and you know what she stands for. And you know that everybody says she's the no-nonsense woman.
Meanwhile, former Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Mohammed Ibrahim Almi, has picked Wadera Hassan as his Wajir gubernatorial running mate for the August 9th elections. Almi, who is running as an independent candidate, says his priority will be to end violent conflict among communities living in the region.
Speaking during the endorsement by residents in Wajir County, the former Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Mohammed Almi, said he's running for office due to demand by locals, assuring them of unity and development. The former CAS, who has since picked Wadera Hassan as the deputy for the governor position, further claimed that his leadership will end perennial conflicts among communities living in Wajir.
Anytime there has been a problem in Wajir, I've been part of trying to find a solution for it. So I felt we can't continue, particularly those of us from Northeastern. Clanism has become a barrier. The so-called negotiated democracy has become a barrier. We bring people, they hide, once they come in, their clans are not able to stop them from stealing.
In Kiambu County, the gender parameter appears to have tilted the choice of running mate. Area Governor James Nyoro, who is seeking the second term under the Jubilee Party ticket, has settled on Dr. June Waweru, as former Governor William Kabogo went for Esther Dirango, who was the Education County Executive in his cabinet.
It has taken us a bit of time. We've listened to many stakeholders. We've listened to different quarters. But there were certain considerations that we were looking at. One of it is that we really would want to bring on board somebody who will help us professionally and who will help us to move Kiambu at the next level.
Thika Member of Parliament Patrick Wainaina alias Django picked former Kiambu woman representative Hannah Nyukabi.
20% of our budget is going to go to economic empowerment. We want to see all these tenders that are happening in Kiambu. We want to see that money remain in the hands of our people.
While Moses Kuria, who is running with Chama cha Kazi Party ticket, picked Faith Mwaura as his running mate.
This underscores my vision for Kiambu, because real estate is going to be at the center of my program to transform Kiambu County. Of course, alongside the other pillars, manufacturing as well, agriculture, and I hope that Kiambu County is going to be the most balanced in terms of development, where we have got agriculture not being negatively affected by our real estate development.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
The government has been faulted for allocating inadequate funds to schools despite implementing various policies on education. Nyatike Member of Parliament Tom Odege attributed the poor infrastructural development in schools to inadequate distribution of resources in the constituencies. The legislator took issue with the newly established schools in rural areas, which he said have run down structures since the funds channeled through CDF to constituencies is not proportionate to the demands at the grassroots level. Miruya and Adugo constituencies in Migori County top the list of schools with rundown structures, with learners in lower grades learning under trees. Isaac Ogutu, a head teacher at Adugo Primary, said their funds are constrained, which has put pressure on the sanitary conditions, with 2 latrines being shared by 250 learners.
After elections, we have done our level best at parliamentary level, and from this year, in the budget which we have passed, we are going to get money depending on the size and the population of your constituency. So I think the money we are going to get currently will be enough for me to do all the schools in Nyatike. And every child going to school in Nyatike will have a roof on his head. Very well, the plan the government have, but their plan is running ahead of them, because they have never done much when it comes to infrastructure in schools. So we are facing the challenge, but we are not going to run away from it, because the system is here with us. It's being implemented. We just have to adopt and see that we start it whichever way, and we'll adjust as we move on. Yeah, but it's a real challenge which I have to admit.
The other challenge that we have is
of latrines. You have heard that we have a population of 250 pupils. And as we speak, we only have 1-2 latrine. The boys are using one wing and the girls in the other wing. So it is a big challenge that is posing health challenge to our learners.
And now let's take a look at news making headlines in the business world. Now, Rwanda could have an operational cooking gas plant within a year, according to the country's environment minister. Now, the government is working with private firms to first track studies aimed at paving the way for setting up a cooking gas factory and ensuring the plan is a success. Rwanda has now opened gates for investors to tap into the available green investment opportunities. Here are the details of these and more across the continent.
Rwanda is open for green investment, which includes shifting from biomass energy to clean cooking energy. This is in the latest step to end reliance on wood fuel for cooking. The availability of the gas plant is expected to decrease the cost of buying cooking gas in the East African country. The project involves the construction of an offshore gas extraction facility, along with onshore gas processing and compression plants for CNG. The project could serve 300 to 400,000 households who currently depend on wood fuel for cooking. The development comes as Rwanda, like many countries globally, has been hit by a price hike in petroleum products, partly due to the conflict in Ukraine. Meanwhile, South African Reserve Bank announced that it was placing Ubank under curatorship with immediate effect due to corporate governance issues, failure to diversify business model, and inability to inject sufficient capital, among other issues. The development was announced by South Africa Reserve Bank Governor, who assured depositors that they will still have access to their money. KPMG South Africa will be responsible for Ubank with immediate effect, although there have been no indications that other South African banks have been negatively affected by Ubank's current situation. With around 4.7 million accounts, Ubank is a South African lender that primarily offers financial services to mine workers and their families. The South Africa Reserve Bank governor pointed out that Ubank only has a capital adequacy rate of 3%, while it should be closer to 20%. However, Ubank remains open for business, remains highly liquid, and will continue to grant loans. Egypt Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said that the U.S. cumulative investments in Egypt rose to $24 billion in the field of energy, petrochemicals, infrastructure, tourism, agriculture, and industry in financial year 2021-2022. The U.S. is a major strategic partner for Egypt, and the Egyptian government is always seeking to strengthen bilateral relations and cooperation between Cairo and Washington. Egyptian economy is expected to achieve a growth of 4.5% in the next financial year, despite the coronavirus pandemic and the recent outbreak of the Russian-Ukrainian war. Egypt's government goal in the current period is to allow private sector to fully participate in economic projects. The U.S. has committed as a partner in strengthening Egypt's domestic climate effort, the climate capacity of Africa, and ensuring the success of COP27. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Sri Lanka's new Prime Minister says the country is down to its last day of petrol as it faces its worst economic crisis in more than 70 years. In a televised address, Ranil Wickremesinghe said the nation urgently needs $75 million in foreign currency in the next few days to pay for essential imports. Now, here are the details of these and other stories from across the globe.
Sri Lanka's economy has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, rising energy prices, and populist tax cuts. A chronic shortage of foreign currency and soaring inflation had led to a severe shortage of medicines, fuel, and other essentials. In the capital, Colombo, auto rickshaws, the most popular means of transport in the city, and other vehicles have been queuing at petrol stations. The Prime Minister says the country only has petrol stocks for a single day. He said the central bank will have to print money to pay government wages. To address the economic crisis, the Prime Minister says state-owned Sri Lankan airlines may be privatized. Elsewhere, Russia became the fourth largest oil supplier, set to rise further in coming months as low prices spur demand from the world's number 3 oil consumer and importer. Russia's shares in India's oil purchases rose to a record 6%, representing about 277,000 barrels per day in April, up from about 66,000 barrels per day in March, when it was in 10th position. Indian Oil Corp, the country's top refiner, bought its first ever Russian Arco oil cargo last month. Western sanctions against Russia for its invasion of Ukraine have opened a rare arbitrage flow, prompting Indian refiners to increase their buying of cheaper Russian oil shunned by many Western countries and companies. Finally, the head of Twitter has hit back after Elon Musk said his $44 billion deal to buy the social media platform was on hold while he sought details about fake accounts. In a series of tweets, Parag Agrawal defended the firm's estimate that spam accounts were less than 5% of users. Musk responded with a poo emoji, later repeating his claim that Twitter was underestimating the figure. He also said spam accounts might be 4 times Twitter's claims. Agrawal defended the firm's count, saying he would discuss the issue with the benefit of data, facts, and context. Analysts have speculated that Musk may be looking for ways to renegotiate the price of the deal or walk away.
Now, Kenya is now looking for alternative sources of wheat in countries such as Serbia to cushion consumers against the high cost of wheat flour and to avert the looming shortage. Local farmers can barely meet demand as most of them have embraced other ventures such as livestock, maize and hay production.
Kenya is staring at wheat shortages with the current consumption at 24 million bags against an annual production of about 2 million. Kenya imports about 60% of wheat from Russia and Ukraine, but the conflict between the two countries has only made matters worse. Farmers in Kenya can barely meet local consumption demand due to what they term as high cost of fuel and farm inputs including fertilizer.
Those farmers now are farmers which are using bomaros. They have cows and do not have farms, so they use bomaros to feed their cows.
Even though officials are exploring alternative sources of wheat in order to make up for the shortfall, farmers are against the idea of wheat importation.
Let the government help us produce more so we can help each other in this country.
Some farmers say the high cost of production has pushed them to consider other ventures such as livestock, maize, horticulture and production of hay. Kenya had hoped to plug the deficit by importing wheat from India, but the Asian country has since banned imports to secure its local market in the wake of a devastating heat wave that decimated the crop. A 2-kilo packet of flour is retailing at about 180 shillings. Kenya is eyeing Serbia to cushion consumers against the high cost of wheat flour and to avert the looming shortage. Hibak Saeed for Lunchtime News.
And in the sports arena, Liverpool will continue their quadruple pursuit when they travel to take on Southampton tonight, hoping to secure a win to close the gap between them and Manchester City to 1 point. Meanwhile, Arsenal's hope of finishing in the Premier League top 4 were dealt a huge blow after a 2-0 shock loss to Newcastle at St James's Park last night.
An own goal from Ben White and a goal from Bruno Guimaraes
assured Newcastle a 2-0 win, which has affected Arsenal hopes playing the Champions League next season. The result confirmed Chelsea's finish in the top 4 and mean that Arsenal must beat Everton in their final game of the season on Sunday and hope Tottenham lose at relegated Norwich.